Okay, welcome to this first live streaming class. Really interesting to teach this way. I would love to be in the same room with you guys, but this is the best that I can do for now. And we got to make the best, right? That's all there is to it, really. Why think any other way? Let's talk a little bit about yoga practice before we start practicing. And you've probably heard this. Yoga is a practice of awareness, right? And what kind of awareness are we talking about here? Well, when we practice any kind of yoga technique, in some way that technique is transitioning or shifting our awareness from a more external state to a more internal state, right? In other words, in this process of becoming aware of what's inside of us, we're getting closer to our faculties, our intelligence, our memory, etc., all these deep processes that make us human, basically, right? And this has a beautiful result for your life. We can make decisions based more on the internal feeling, internal intuition, internal intelligence. We make the decisions from our feeling inside, rather necessarily from external factors or external inputs or external influence, right? As we know, the world is a sea of waves of influence. And, well, it's always multiple perspectives. In some way, you can throw yourself into the sea, let it take you wherever it goes, and still you can practice an awareness practice of yoga, of surrendering the ego, in that case, right? Always in the right way. On another hand, in this self-guidance, self meaning for now this body-mind system, what it seems like we are, what it seems like we're experiencing mostly as self, what it seems like is self. So this system can be guided towards experiences which reflect a universal principle or a grand oneness of existence. So we practice those things to shift our attention inwards, to discover what is deepest about us. What is the deepest fundamental experience I can have? And that has to be self. And from doing this as a practice, learning or letting this internal feeling guide you through your life, making the decisions, the better decisions, that are going to promote and support a happy life, a joyful life, even a divine life. Or as many of us go inwards in this practice, something divine is discovered. Something like a spark, something like a light, something like a surge and rising of energy and awareness. Let's get ready to practice this awareness practice, Hatha Yoga, starting with our body and moving inwards towards those deeper aspects as well. And come to a comfortable seated position and close the eyes. And in your own time, in your own easy way, begin to deepen your breath. And already looking for that sensual awareness of your breath. Something that feels good or just feels, right? Go with the feels. And use more of your whole body to breathe. fully breathe in and out. So we start to inflate our stomach on the beginning of the inhale, then to the chest. As the breath fills and release it, let it seep out. And then gently squeeze the abdomen to squeeze the rest out. Let's make this wave of movement and breath. It may be good for you to try to build up this energy and movement to a high place, to a lot of sensation, to wherever you feel that is comfortable for you, and then start to slow it down, make it softer and slower again. Let's do this for about 3 minutes. Now, when you breathe a lot, it feels natural to pause your breath out. You're starting to feel that. Allow yourself to pause after your exhale. Less movement in the body, more softness in the breath. And you may also like to start pausing the breath, holding your inhale. Deep, relaxed breaths, pausing in and pausing out. Keep your breath flowing, and let's begin to gently move. Start to roll around your spine in your seated position. Use your hands for some support, a little bit if you need when you go forwards. Keep the breath flowing, and once you're in the movement, close the eyes again. And feel when you go through these 4 directions, your front, your right, your back, and your left. Just feeling that awareness of these areas as you move. Move like a snake, move like a worm, move and open up these areas of your spine. Most of the movement in your spine is happening where? Where do you feel the movement happening the most? Where do you feel the movement happening in your spine the least? And at some point in the next few rotations, slow down and change direction. You might want to go super slow as you start the second direction and then speed it up if you want. And there's a playful balance in practice for us as practitioners and teachers. One side is really being responsive to what you feel in yourself, in your body, etc., and letting that inform your practice. So you do things continuously based on the sensation that the technique is eliciting in you. However, we can't go all in on that without some structure and without some plan or knowledge or memory of what we're doing. So we also have the other side, which is the set routine, right? Do this, do it that way. And that's also the discipline that we receive from learning from a teacher or with a group of peers that really keeps us on track with the practice. Now, come into your own movement pattern, something that you want to move like with your spine. And try to reach your spine as you move. Make sure the breath is still easy. If you try to engage your core too much to extend and support, the breath might become shallow or tight or restricted. So if you feel that happening, don't reach quite so much. Keep your breath flowing deep and easy. Okay, we'll change our movement pattern. Let's turn our palms face up now. And lean forwards, reaching up through the heart. And lean back a little bit, round your back, sink back, roll your tail under. Inhale to reach forward. Exhale back. When we go forward, reach through the belly, keep the breath deep. You can open your eyes now for our inhale. And if you want, close your eyes for a moment at the end of your exhale. Let's slow this down a little bit more. Last few times. And the last one, we're going to bring ourselves to straight seated posture. Take one more inhale, going forward, reaching. Then exhale very slowly back to your balanced spine. Close the eyes again. Let the breath be as soft as it naturally wants. It's very interesting when you think about our breath, how if you don't think about it, breath is naturally doing it, right? It's happening. If you watch your breath, it's not so easy to be sure if the breath isn't just naturally happening or if there's any level of influence our attention is bringing to it. While there is, naturally, if you pay attention to your breath, it will start to find the level which regulates everything connected with this body-mind system. Regulated for what? To find the harmony, to find the balance, to be efficient. to restore and maintain. And of course, we can also directly control our breath to create exercise, build up. Let's bring the hands together to the heart, Anjali Mudra. Bringing your attention a little bit more upwards and inwards into the area of the eyes, the forehead. And setting a prayerful intention for our practice, for the good of ourselves, for the good of all beings. Find your own personal expression in this moment. What are you grateful for? What do you hope for? What do you want to direct your attention towards? Integrating these expressions, these prayers, into our present being, into our truth. Accepting all of these expressions also as a practice and something that supports us, but not being attached either. Rather simply continuing to connect with ourselves and what is, falling in love with creating and guiding energy towards beautiful outcomes, not being attached to the results. Because the beautiful outcome is this direct experience that's happening here. Always here, always now, always this one. That's the success already. That's already what's happening. Working with this, celebrating this. Let's chant Om 3 times. Slow inhale. Opening our eyes, starting to move to our hands and to our knees. And let's do a little bit on our cow and cats. Exhaling round the back more fully than we could seated. So really push. Inhale, lift your head, lift your tail. Exhale, cat. Inhale, cow. As we move, liberating our spine, making space in our body. Imagine your breath can go into different parts as you move. And the simple pattern that I like to play with when I move awareness with my breath and my body is exhale into the ground. Imagine the air is like going down your arms, or not air, but awareness and energy, down your legs into the floor. And when you inhale, imagine it comes up from the floor, up your arms, up to your spine, up to your third eye or the crown of your head. If there are certain parts of this body that you want to especially work with, you can do that while you practice these techniques. Although while you do that, maintain an awareness of the whole. Right? We don't want to minimize our vision onto one tiny detail of our experience. When it's like something that nags us, something that's uncomfortable or an injury or whatever it is. We don't want to zoom in when the practice is somewhere more wide and expanded, right? Like our body right now. And if it does come up as something that kind of blocks you or restricts you in your practice, then of course we give it direct attention to work with it, to develop the relationship with it, and to modify our practice if we need to, or adapt our practice to heal. And let's from here relax the spine and just take a moment in child's pose. So we're going to put the hips all the way back, hands all the way forward, and chin or forehead down. And some yoga theory also says that there's another way of healing. Like a lot of things, we go direct. We try to heal directly the issues that we're experiencing in our lives, which is very useful. But there's a second side to that coin, and that is the theory that going deeper within yourself through meditation, etc., will change the reason that you had that injury or discomfort or traumatic experience, etc. It'll change this karmic relationship with ourself and with the world around us, kind of transform the dimensions, if you will, of how things happen with us. And oftentimes that, if you don't have that kind of experience, that kind of meditative insight, that's what can stop healing from happening, even if you do the direct stuff, because there's still a kind of internal mechanism of our self, which is saying it makes sense for that to be like that, right? 1 + 1 is 2, right? So meditation helps us to go in and change this internal mechanisms that caused these things, and therefore changes the logic that allows these things to be released. And from here, let's come back up and move into downward facing dog. We're going to tuck our toes, lift back, take a little step back as well. It's not necessary to have your heels down in down dog or anything like that, but we do want the right distance that we're reaching our spine straight. And if your spine is rounded, bend your knees, push yourself back more, reach through your spine. Deep inhale, and as you exhale, gently push your heels further back. Reach your heart further forward. Leave the head and the neck relaxed. We'll take just a few more breaths in. Last few breaths. Here, also through practice, you can pull your abdomen inwards to support your spine. And promote the reaching of the spine as well, lengthening. Walk our hands back to standing forward bend. Again, bend your knees as necessary to bring your chest close to your thighs. Sometimes it's good to start with knees bent if you're feeling stiff. And then maybe over time exhaling towards more straight legs, more leaning forwards. You might want to also move your neck and your head around here a little bit. Maybe even move your arms around a little bit. It's a very unique position that we could have the head down and the arms reaching around, reaching up, right? Even though up is down with our torso. Normally your arms are by your side, right? But in this case, it's active. You're actively reaching your arms towards your side. Now, one more beautiful thing to do in your standing forward bend is to pull or traction your own lower back. Reach your hands to your lower back. Bring your chin in. And exhaling, let's bring the hands back down to the ground, walking forward and bringing the knees down to the ground as well. Point your toes back, and now let's warm up more, starting with Chaturanga. So we're going to stay on our knees, bring our hands forward so that we're shoulders over wrists, and then bend the elbows forward and down and push back up and go back, forwards and backwards. Yes. Only go as far forward and down as you can easily push yourself back up. We'll do about 10 more. Keep the body in line. Tuck the tail when you come forward. Don't stick your butt out. Good. And last one. Coming back to down dog. Now walk your feet forward to your hands. Now let's bring the feet close together. Maybe your big toes are touching. We're making our feet parallel here. Thinking your second toe to the center of your ankle joint to make your two parallel lines. Maybe your ankles will be apart because of that. And then let's inhale, lift to flat back. Lift up until your spine is straight. Reach forward. Push on your legs, on your thighs or on your shins. If you can keep kind of straight and long spine in the lower position, you can come lower with your hands on your ankles or your feet or the floor. And from here, inhale, lift up. Raise the arms above your head. Reach straight up to the ceiling through your whole body. And exhale your hands to your forehead, tilt your chin down. Inhale, reach straight up through the body. Ground down through your feet, squeeze your legs. And exhale, hands to the forehead, relax the upper body. Let's do this 5 more times. Pulling the belly in as you inhale if possible. That should be naturally kind of happening with a movement like this because that is how you reach higher or longer, right? Your abdomen has to pull in to help your spine get taller. One more time. And then exhale the hands to the level of the heart. Close the eyes. Take just a few breaths here in mountain pose. Legs still slightly active here. Inner thighs squeezing towards each other. Quadriceps, your front thighs, lifting your kneecaps slightly. Feel the weight in your feet. Play with your balance. If you don't feel like you're perfectly 50-50 in your feet or that you're stable, just play with the balance a little bit. And while you play with your balance, keep growing your body tall. Gently feel your body extending. And this principle of extension is also one of the most simple and easy ways to work with rehab for your joints, especially our spine, our knees, and our elbows, because that's where we can extend, right? Extend the arm, extend the leg, extend the spine. This can also help though with the shoulders and hips. One more minute. Balance your efforts and relaxation in this mountain pose. All right, let's relax the hands down and starts sun salutation. Sun salutation A. Inhale, reaching up, extend, and back bend a little bit. Exhale and fold down. Inhale, lift halfway to flat back. Exhale to Chaturanga, walk back. Bring your knees down if you'd like, or do it with straight legs, low push-up. Inhale, lift your chest, push the floor away. Reach up to your chin. And exhale, push back, tuck your toes to down dog, where we'll take a few breaths here. Next exhale, bend your knees halfway. Inhale, walk or hop to the front and flat back. Exhale to forward bend. Inhale, lift, reach, and extend back. Look to your hands. And exhale, hands to your heart in mountain pose. Let's continue this. Inhale, fly up. Exhale, hold down. Inhale, flat back. And exhale, step or hop to low push-up. Inhale, lift the chest. And you can be on your knees or press the tops of the feet down so the knees lift. Upward dog. Exhale, back to downward dog. Lift through your tail and reach forward through your heart, back through your heels. Next exhale, bend the knees. Inhale, hop or walk to flat back. And exhale, fold. Inhale, lift and extend, reach into a back bend. And exhale, hands to your heart. Inhale, reach and extend. Exhale, fold down. Inhale, flat back. And now if you want to try the hop here or even a press to a handstand, the easy way to start that. Exhale, bend the knees until your hands firmly plant on the ground. And as you exhale, you push your hands, and you can start with a jump that way, right, to your plank, and then come down to your low push-up. If you have enough flexibility and strength, you can not jump, but just push. Lift your heels, push your legs back to plank. And either one of those two or some combination of, you can use to press to a handstand, although that takes usually a lot of training. Exhale, palms down, heels lift, maybe knees bend, and hop or press up the handstand. If you do come to a handstand, try to softly land into Chaturanga. Or fall back to land however you need. Come into plank, Chaturanga. Then let's inhale to up dog. And exhale to down dog. Few breaths here. And also remember that the point is not always to stretch as much as possible, but apply the techniques to create some feeling of stretch. And kind of just settle into feeling really steady. Look within yourself. Take an exhale, bend the knees. Inhale, walk or hop. Exhale, fold. Inhale, lifting all the way. And exhale, mountain pose. And let's do our last rounds. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale, flat back. Press, walk, hop, or handstand. Chaturanga to lifting the chest. And exhale, down dog. Now let's transition to our next exercise. Exhale, step the right foot forward between your hands. Set your feet and come up to a high lunge slowly. And now take your arms out to the sides. Squeeze your thumb inside of your fingers. This is called Mushti Mudra. We're going to turn our palms forward and reach our arms back. Feel all the energy and power that this position promotes in your body. Control it with your breath. Keep your breath smooth, deep, and calm. Now let's exhale to turn the heel down. Bring the hands onto your hips. This will be option 1. Try to step in the feet so that you feel comfortable to come forward and down, bringing the head to the inside of your right foot on the exhale. Option 2, you can join your hands behind your back. And as you come down, reach your arms over your head. Keep your upper body close to your right thigh. Lift up just enough to bring your hands down inside of your right leg now, and turn your left heel up once again. Now we're going to try to just go a little deeper in our right hip, sliding the left foot back for Snail Pose. I want you to keep your left knee off of the ground, and as you get lower, bring your forearm up that you need so that you have some support. Keep the left leg active. Knee is lifting off the floor. Now let's drop the knee. You can choose to just stay here kind of restfully, even let the head down. Or second option, adjust to come in closer with your knee and try to bring your chest more under, or sorry, rather your shoulder. Your right shoulder under or behind your right leg. And only if it's very easy and natural to do so, bring your head actually right through, right behind your ankle. And people also like to add this little grab onto the other foot, right hand grabbing the left foot here. Slowly release. Come back out and up. And now prepare to stand onto your right leg. So we're going to shift a little bit up and forward. Bend the knee as you move forward. Let's just kind of come in and out of that a few times. It doesn't have to be any exact way, but shift your weight forwards and backwards. And shifting forwards again, stand up. Just on your right leg. Bring your left knee out to the side and onto your inner thigh. If you can't reach that high, bring it onto your calf. Bring your hands to prayer. Now try to open your hip without turning your whole body. So I want this left knee to go back, but we don't want our body to turn to the left. Imagine like warrior two, right? From both hips opening. Squeeze a foot in the thigh firmly. Set the eyes to the distance, 1 point. The breath settle. And either continue here or as a second option, try to stand on just the ball of your foot. Lift your heel. Keep your drishti, your gaze point, even if you lose your balance. Let your hands dance out to help you keep your balance, right? If you lose it, your hands going just, they'll go there. They'll naturally fly if you let them, to help you maintain the balance. If you totally lose it though, just bail, right? And then come back. And then heels down and both feet down. Just closing the eyes for a few breaths. Again, mountain, coming back as before. But feeling these differences of the legs. And with our next inhalation, reaching up, extend back. And exhale, fold forward. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, Chaturanga. Upward facing. And downward facing. Great. Now let's start the second side. Left foot, step forward between your hands. And as you exhale, come up. Take the arms out, thumbs and the fingers, palms forward, reach back. And ideally, if the pose is relatively steady, relatively stable, you should be able to pause your breath when you're ready. Sometimes we have, different conditions, different days. Always, again, with those little details, go more by your feeling. And if it feels easy and controlled, pause between your inhale and exhale. Okay, moving to the humble warrior, either hands on your hips or hands joined behind the back. Right heel down, adjust your feet. Take an inhale to lift your chest. And exhale, fold down to the inside of your left leg. Stay close to your thigh. And even if your head eventually gets onto the ground, keep the weight in your feet, in your legs. And to avoid putting weight on the head if it's down, you can curl your chin in. And let's exhale, hands down, heel up. Sliding back for snail through your right foot. Keep your right knee off the ground. Bring your arms to the floor or onto a supports. A really nice, deep, open stretch for our hips, our thighs. Bring the knee down. Now you can either take this as a kind of restful version of the same pose, or we can adjust a bit to bring the knee forward again closer and the shoulder behind the left leg. And if the mobility easily allows, head behind the ankle. Right hand on the left foot, left hand on the right foot. And releasing, coming out, coming up. Preparing to stand onto our left leg, a little bit of forwards and backwards. Since we did just do such deep kind of stuff with our left hip, just give it a chance to slowly come into supporting weights and a more straight alignment of the joints. And then with an exhale, stand up onto the left leg into tree, Vinyasa. Try to apply that warrior two feeling of opening the hips, opening the chest. Setting the gaze to the distance or closing the eyes. And either staying or for that extra challenge, try to lift the left heel. Keep the drishti, keep the gaze. And release the heel down, release both feet down. Standing in our mountain. Close the eyes. And preparing for last round of sun salutation A. Finish your exhale and inhale. Reach up and extend. Exhale to forward bend. And exhale to Chaturanga. Inhale, lift the heart. exhale, back to down dog. And from here, let's exhale the knees to the ground and draw back to stand onto your knees. Bring the knees a little close together, hip distance or very slightly closer. And now we're going to work on the camel pose. Camel pose is one that a lot of people, we overdo it in a lot of ways. It's a pose where you don't have to go as far, right, in terms of mobility to work on the important things in the pose. So how we're going to do it now is not bringing the hands back onto the feet, not even necessarily onto the hips, although this is fine if you want to do this. We're going to just work on lifting through the chest and through the chin. And once we get we're going to do that for a little while. Then we're going to work on, in that lifted condition, while we lift, bringing the hips also forward. And we can do this as a vinyasa, right? Inhale to create your lift. And exhale back to your resting spine posture. Excuse me. Move at your own pace. And if we're doing this kind of in a natural way, what we're going to find is that your tail will move kind of back, right? As you lift up and extend, the tail back bends. It curls up and backwards rather than tucking the tail, which was a confusing cue that people use for back bends more previously. I think most people know now. Now, why the confusion maybe, right? Because when we extend our spine here, right, we're mostly working in the spine itself, not so much on the hips. And then you start to reach with that shape, and it does feel like the hips tuck or the tail tucks. But anatomically, you're not doing that. You're not flexing the front side here, right? That's not a back bend. We have to allow the front side to open so the tail sticks back. But when we come through the hips, it feels like the tail is tucking, right? Because of all of the relative movements of the body. But don't tuck your tailbone in your back bends, or only very slightly in some cases if you're trying to avoid an injury. Although even then, usually it's better just to do different poses or different techniques. So we'll do another round of this movement. Vinyasa, inhale, back bend. And exhale, resting. And let's try, actually, little change, one more thing. Let's try with the knees close together, super close. And that should make it even a little bit easier to focus the movement on the spine rather than through the pelvis or the hip joint. And you can come back to hip wide. Do one more round moving. If you feel good to stay, stay. And you can bring your hands to a few different positions once you're holding. You might want to bring hands to your hips, hands to prayer, or hands reaching up. And if you can control the pressure to the lower back, the arms back. So you'll see if I'm in my back bend, if the arms are here, it's almost no difference. Actually, it makes it a little easier if I reach the arms forward. If I reach up, a little bit of weight to the lower back. If I reach back, a lot more pressure and a lot more strength needed to control so that we don't pinch nerves, create inflammation, and so on. Reach through your whole spine, from tail to head, both ways. And coming up or back, take a little rest this time by sitting your sit bones back to your heels with your toes still tucked. Now, it depends on how mobile you are, how you might be feeling this. As we start to open up, though, what we're going to find is that to go further requires a kind of release. Even though we need to use some kind of strength as well, eventually it feels like letting go through the abdomen and the lower abdomen. If you do that too soon, like you haven't gone far enough yet, again you might hurt your lower back. So why are we doing these poses? They're so dangerous for a lower back. Well, again, they are if you do the full out right way too early, right? We're trying to do it in progressive ways, and that's why no hands on the feet yet, and controlling everything with the core muscles, right? A lot of times for beginners, once we bring another point of support to help the position of the spine, we tend to forget how to use our core muscles to support that position, and that can lead to some of those issues. Okay, so one more round. You have those options to continue moving in and out, inhale back, exhale rest. If you feel easy, stay there. Hands in those positions at the heart, the hips, or any direction reaching that you can control. And for those who are getting pretty deep, see if it feels nice to let go through the torso a little bit more for that deepest release, the deepest stretch. Now, when you come up the last time, come up slowly. Try to stay as tall as you can. Imagine like someone's holding you by your hair or your head and keeping you really tall so that when you come up, you don't just collapse all of this space we created, this length that we created through our spine. Good. Now we're going to stay upright. If this next pose doesn't work for you, I'll have another option in a second. So we're going to do half frog in the camel. But we're going to just work on the leg really. So left hand to left foot, and try to pull or push your foot just outside of your hip. If this is really difficult to do, instead you can step forward to a lunge. And then right hand to left foot towards your buttocks. Those in the camel position on the knees. You can also try to sneak your right hand around from behind to give you a little bit of extra pressure. And take your time to release and change sides. And coming back, sit onto your heels, toes tucked. And from here to squat or Malasana. So we'll see if we can do this without using our hands if possible. Rock back. And onto our heels. If you need to adjust, you can adjust. Bringing the hands down, bringing the feet wider. Let's take the fingers turned backwards on our knees. A little bit of push, reach, and exhale. Release the hands, the spine, the head down very slowly. Allow the tail and the head, kind of like your spine is a towel on a rack, to hang down. Drape your spine. And breathe deeply enough here that some movements come through the abdomen, the pelvis. Breathe deep into your abdomen. See if you can breathe so deep, your bum lifts higher from the floor. And when you release that breath, walk out the hands, letting the head down further. Lifting our heads, and we'll have three options for what's next. So first option is most natural from where we are. Might be a little challenging for some. You need the flexibility to bring your arms in front of your thighs, kind of mid upper arm, crossed on the shin. Wide hands. And we do low bakasana, low crow pose. You can also press this up to more straight arms. We can also do the more traditional common crow pose. Knees squeezing on the upper shoulders, upper arms. On the outside, squeeze in, hug your knees. Or, if you're not that flexible, knees just above the elbows. That's the hardest balancing of all of these, though. You need to be really particular how you stack your knee just a bit above your elbow and then lean forward. And all of those options, we lean forward and use our fingers pressing into the floor to sustain the balance. strong hands. If none of these options are accessible to you, you can keep your feet down or even work on your Chaturanga, right? Bring the knees to the floor, lean forward to a stable position with your elbows bent and shoulders back. Okay, and then coming back to sit and right into boat pose, Navasana. Try to keep your chest and thighs close together. If straightening your legs rounds your back a lot, bend your knees and lift your chest more. And then maintaining that, and over time, start to extend your legs. Good. A little more. I'm shaking. You're probably shaking. Now to forward bend. Drop the legs. Rock on your sit bones. Try to really lift again through your spine. Widen the sit bones. And actually, right before we go into forward bend, let's take a bit of a side bend. Left hand down. If possible, coming down to your elbow or using props so that you could come down to your forearm. Keep pushing through the arm into the floor as if to send weight back to your right sit bone. Inhale, lift up. Change sides. Right hand right out to the side, reaching over. And then coming up. Inhale, reach up to the heart. And exhale, fold forward. Inhaling, sitting back up. And sitting close to the front of your mat. So that way when you're ready to lay down, you have your full length of your mat for Shavasana. And any comfortable cross-leg pose. And sitting with the eyes closed. Now feel within your breath, within your body, all of the effects. How do you feel your breath? Where do you feel your breath? Feel that. Breath by breath, expand the awareness and sensations of the breath through your entire being, even to the skin and the space around the skin. Even just imagine that you can feel that with your breath. That the breath is somehow changing this feeling. Expansion, contraction. Receiving and giving, or letting go. As our heart rate starts to settle, our breath slows down. In this field of awareness, focus to the middle of your body, central channel or the axis close to your spine. Find the root of this line and your pelvic floor, between your sit bones, between your anus and genital. Focus there with an exhale, maybe squeezing Mula Bandha slightly. And inhale, draw awareness up to the middle of your head, the forehead, the crown of your head, etc. And exhale down this line, back to the root, back to Mula Bandha, Muladhara chakra, pelvic floor. Continue this up and down with your breath. Now bringing the awareness and the attention up on your next inhale, and keep focusing at this level of your head. Continue breathing and continue focusing in the center of the head, behind the eyes, between the ears. Breathe an expansion of this space and awareness in the head, expanding as you inhale, contracting as you exhale. So infinitely small point, expanding inhale to an infinitely large space. And release all techniques. Rest back into this natural awareness, infinitely between the small points, the expansive infinite space. Be here with everything in the now. And now you may like to lay down in Shavasana, perhaps covering the eyes if you have something available. If you feel good in your seated position, you can stay here. If you want a deeper rest and release, lay down onto the back, separate the arms and legs from the body. Palms up and feet out. Allow the body to sink into the floor. Breathe waves of relaxation through your body. Now taking our time. If you're laying down, start to slowly deepen your breath. Begin to gently move your fingers, smallest movements, one at a time. And that's something that can be quite profound if you really do this from a completely restful state. Feel one finger and make the smallest possible movements you can make in one finger. This is a very simple thing, but it's very representative of the process of everything. First, awareness of something, then intention, then action, followed by experience, the culmination experience of that whole process. The process and awareness stays throughout. The experience expands our awareness, or it enhances our awareness. So you can do this from a simple, well, our body's not that simple, is it? But the simple technique of working with our body and seeing how that flourishes to expand into your life. Remember, it's not magic though, and that practice is what supports this development to become a natural way that happens in your life. So practice regularly, practice with awareness, practice with life. You take your time to sit up if you're still laying down. And let's bring our hands Anjali Mudra to the heart again. And chanting universal mantra 3 times. Om. Hari Om. Om Namah Shivaya. Namaste. So thank you for joining and have a beautiful day. Look forward to seeing you, hearing from you, and being in touch. Look forward to next class. Now, let's see if I can read. There's some things here. Everything looks great. Thanks, Alan Zhao. Thank you. I got a message retracted. Not able to do headstands or handstands, probably need a spotter to learn. Absolutely, yes. You do want to start learning those things with the teacher in person, or at least with a wall, definitely. At one point, you really had your foot behind your head, right and left. Malasana and lotus are relatively easy to do. Yes. Well, in general, all these things, the class today is for all levels. So I'm throwing options for beginners to people who want to challenge themselves as well and do these kind of fun or challenging asanas, which can also be useful for practice, but they're more for invigoration and care for the body rather than deep meditative things. So it's not critical that you can do or not do any of them. And for a lot of people, Malasana and Lotus are not easy. It all depends on the body and the person, right? And of course, Malasana is the squat that we do. So people are very tight in their hips, and a lot of people describe this as a difference between like Asian and Western bodies, and that's somewhat accurate, although it's a little bit more accurate just to think about movement patterns. It's not the structure of our genetic structure per se, but the structure that we develop through how we use our bodies. And it does, ring true that in the West, more people sit in chairs, and in the East, more people squat, just as a normal day-to-day kind of thing for many reasons. Many people have squatting toilets in the East, and in many countries, people just hang out like this. I mean, you can hang out, with your friends outside somewhere, and you're all squatting around because there's no chairs, right? So that's why a lot of people find those easy in the East. And for a lot of Westerners, it takes a lot of time to open up the hips enough to be able to do these kinds of things. It could also be from other training that you do, which develops the muscles in the joints to be really specialized for something like running or bicycling, but makes it very difficult to get the mobility for those deep hip opening poses. Right. Zina Garan, thank you. Love your yoga style. Inspirational. Thank you, dear. I tried to make it, about awareness. Robert, for me, Lotus is great for vertical spirituality, connecting earth and sky. Fire log pose for me allows me to do horizontal spirituality, connecting with people around me. I feel you need both. That's a beautiful description. Lotus is fitting with that too, from a lot of ancient descriptions and how it affects the body, because one of the biggest benefits of that posture for meditation is that when your legs are interlocked like this and your hips are this open, it makes it the most natural, easiest sitting posture to not slouch. And if you can't do Lotus yet, that might be hard to understand why that is. And I'm not saying that if you can do Lotus that you won't slouch. Of course, it can still happen, and it does happen after time. But if your body gets really, really open in that pose, staying upright and vertical feels very, very easy and natural. And the reason for that is because when our legs are in this position, they don't pull on the spine so much, right? When we're sitting more knees bent and legs coming up, right? Legs coming more up towards the front body, of course, the back body needs to elongate, and that means slouching. So it really helps with the verticality and as well the transmutation or the sublimation of energy upwards, right? We kind of lock up the lower body so that energy can rise. For the fire log pose, if it feels more with connecting with people around you, it's like it's grounded, it's solid, it's coming down to where we are, what's around us. So all of those kinds of submitting to the floor or coming to ground ourselves. All right, so unless anyone has any questions or any comments in the chat, I'm going to go have some breakfast, I guess. I think that's it then. Okay, so see you next time, and have a great day.